What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from different comic book companies. Today, we are going to jump back over to Marvel Comics, and we are going to begin our coverage over the Fantastic Four. Now, this is the Fantastic Four after Secret Wars, which is very huge to say because Secret Wars ended in 2015, and for a good period of time, we did not have a Fantastic Four book at all. But Dan Slott came over and he said, let me write a Fantastic Four series, and Marvel gave him one. And this is volume 1 that basically brings back the Fantastic Four in the Marvel Universe. So with that being said, I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video. And if you do, please hit that like button down below and subscribe. But here we go. Now, as we dive into the opening pages of Fantastic Four #1, I do want to mention a few things, starting off with the idea that this takes place a couple years after Secret Wars 2015. Remember, back in 2015, Marvel gave us this big event known as Secret Wars. Now, with that event right there, at the end of it, Reed and Sue actually took their kids to go remake the multiverse because in that event, the multiverse was being killed off. Now, we as the readers, we knew what happened to Reed and Sue, but for Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm in the books of Marvel, they had no idea what happened to Reed or Sue, or the children of Reed and Sue. And so for a long time, for these two characters, it really felt like they were actually gone. Now, we learned that Ben Grimm has given up hope because to him, it's been too long. It's been a whole year since Reed and Sue left. And for him, he's kind of like, they're dead, they're gone, and we have to move on. But for Johnny Storm, the younger brother to Sue Storm, well, he never given up hope. For him, it was my sister and my brother-in-law and my niece and nephew, they're out there. I know they are. I have hope. But as we dive into the opening pages of this book, it really shows us two characters who are right now just trying to live life. Yes, Ben Grimm has given up hope, but of course he has moved on and he's trying the best to be there for his girlfriend Alicia Masters. And for Johnny Storm, he has moved on, but he still has hope. And right now he's out there having fun at different baseball games with his roommate Wyatt. Now here comes the big thing though. As both characters are trying to live their lives, that is when something or someone actually shoot a flare up in the sky and it says Fantastic Four. And this usually means that the Fantastic Four are being called for something important. And so for Johnny Storm, he thinks it's Reed and Sue saying that, hey, that's our signal. That could be Reed and Sue. They are actually back. This is big, this is huge, and he actually flies off. Now, like I said earlier, these are two characters who are living life in a different way, because for Johnny Storm, he never lost hope. He had that hope. And matter of fact, when he saw that signal, he flew right there to say, oh my gosh, my brother-in-law and my sister, they are finally back. But for Ben Grimm, he knew it was not them. He had no hope. He's kind of like, listen, they're gone. It's been a whole year since they left. There is no way that signal in the air is Reed nor Sue. It's someone else just playing a prank. I'm staying here. And you have Alicia Masters, the girlfriend of Ben Grimm, trying to convince him that there could be hope out there. They could be alive. But again, for Ben Grimm, there's no hope. He believes Reed and Sue are gone. But either way, when Johnny Storm actually gets to that signal spot, Ben was right. Ben was right. There was no Reed nor Sue. It was a bunch of kids who found the Fantastic Four signal and just shot it in the air. Now you do have Dan Slott kind of do this thing where he is trying to show us how popular the Fantastic Four used to be. What I mean is, back in the 1960s, when it came to the Fantastic Four, they were Marvel's #1 thing. Marvel could do nothing wrong when it came to the Fantastic Four. But that was back in the past, in the 1960s, because by the 70s, 80s, and 90s, Other characters, other teams like Spider-Man and X-Men kind of took Fantastic Four's spot, and so they really fell off. But this is Dan Slott saying there was a time they were Marvel's #1 thing, but with the Fantastic Four not being in Marvel Comics, it feels like something is missing for us readers, but also for the people in Marvel Comics, because again, the Fantastic Four was so popular and so big in the Marvel universe. But either way, it is kind of Dan Slott saying, don't worry, they're coming back very soon. Now, if you're wondering if those kids got in trouble for stealing a flare gun that belonged to the Fantastic Four, yes, they did. But with Ben Grimm dropping the charges and also having She-Hulk as their lawyer, they were able to get off very easily. Now, Johnny Storm is actually very upset by this because he feels like the kids should be punished for stealing a flare gun that kind of gave him hope that Reed and Sue were actually back. But of course, that was not Reed and Sue. And so he's mad at Ben Grimm for dropping the charges and also the kids getting off. And we do learn where the kids actually stole the flare gun from. They actually got it from one of Ben Grimm's homes. And the home was supposed to be protected by one of his close friends, Hiram Scheckerberg. I really hope I pronounced that name correctly. And he is an old time character. I think he first appeared back in like 2002 in Fantastic Four comics. But either way, Ben Grimm is actually not upset with his friend because kids are kids. They're going to find a way to break into places to get what they want. But either way though, it's Ben Grimm hoping that the one thing that was not stolen or misplaced is still there. And that is when he pulls out a random box. In this box, it leads to him actually telling a story to his friend about one of the greatest adventures he had with his Fantastic Four family. Now, we could actually skip over this story that Ben Grimm is going to tell his friend, but in reality, it does actually lead into the next section really perfectly. And the reason why I say that because while Ben Grimm is telling us this story, he tells us that there was a time the Fantastic Four were actually lost in space. They had no idea how to get home. But luckily for them, they were with a character known as Astronomica, and she had the ability to actually lead the Fantastic Four in the correct direction to get back home. The problem was she needed something to actually power up her staff so that she'll be able to lead them in the right direction. Now you would think that would meant, okay, Human Torch, use your flame powers as a way to power up her staff. But in reality, no. The way her staff powers up is if the best singer around her sings an amazing song, and of course that would power up her staff and then give her the ability to lead the Fantastic Four back home. Now of course, the one character that has the best voice is Johnny Storm. And so Johnny Storm had to sing a song as a way to power up her staff to get the Fantastic Four back home. Now, you do have Reed actually give us a scientific reasoning. Sorry, I had a hard time saying that. But of course, Dan Slott does not really spend much time on it because the story must move on. But once Ben Grimm actually finishes his story, he does say that the reason why he's holding this rock because Astronomica gave him that rock as a way to say, if you ever lose hope or you kind of feel like you're going the wrong direction, this rock could lead you in the right direction. And this leads us into the next big moment in this book. Now, you actually do have Ben Grimm head over to Alicia Masters' house, his girlfriend. Now, I do want to mention, when it comes to Alicia Masters, she is blind. But of course, she still madly loves Ben Grimm no matter what. And they have been dating for a long time. I mean, literally the 1960s. And honestly, I feel like this moment right here was way overdue. Because of course, you do have Ben Grimm actually propose to Alicia Masters. And she says yes. And so these two characters are finally engaged. It is kind of like, yes. This is going in the right direction. And so with these two characters now being together, that means it's time to celebrate and tell everyone the good news. But the one person they want to tell first is, of course, Johnny Storm, because when it comes to the original Fantastic Four, Ben Grimm and Johnny are the last two characters on Earth. And Ben Grimm wants to tell Johnny, like, hey man, listen, I'm getting married and I want you to be my best man, because when it comes to us, you're like a brother to me. You should be my best man. But this leads into a huge argument between the two characters. And the reason why Johnny is upset with Ben Grimm is because for Johnny, he should not be the best man. Reed should be the best man for Ben, because Ben and Reed have been best friends for a long time. And so for Johnny, he's kind of like, how dare you ask me to be your best man? This tells me that you have really given up hope that Reed and Sue are out there. And that implies to what I said earlier. When it comes to Ben and when it comes to Johnny, both these characters had really moved on in different ways. For Johnny Storm, he's kind of like, he went out in the world, he still had fun, but he had that hope that one day Reed and Sue would come back. But for Ben, he really moved on to spend time with his girlfriend, but he lost that hope that Reed and Sue would come back. And so at first, Ben is really upset at Johnny for actually ruining this special moment. But in reality, Ben realized Johnny is hurting because Sue was his sister. He was an uncle to her kids. He was a brother-in-law to Reed. He lost his whole family. And so Ben understands how Johnny feels. And so he begins to hug Johnny as a way to let him kind of cry it out, because Ben understands what Johnny is actually going through. But then we jump over to Reed and Sue, and you have to remember what I said earlier. When it came to Reed and Sue, we knew where they were at. We knew that they were actually going across the multiverse as a way to fix it. But at the same time, they did not tell Johnny nor Ben where they were at. They just left to go fix the multiverse. But either way though, you actually have Reed working on a device as a way to send a signal back home to Johnny and Ben. And so when we jump back over to Johnny and Ben as they're still hugging one another, that is when they both look up in the sky. And not just them, a lot of different characters and random people in the city also do as well. They all look up in the sky and they see a big 4. And for Ben and for Johnny, they know that was Reed's work. Reed is actually calling out to Johnny and Ben. And the reasoning why will be explained in the next section. Now we actually jump over to a backup story in Fantastic Four #1 that really focuses on the return of Doctor Doom. Now, after Secret Wars, Doctor Doom became a good guy. Matter of fact, he replaced Iron Man for a brief moment. Again, a brief moment, because after that story, he became a bad guy again, but really kind of disappeared in Marvel Comics. He appeared here and there, but in reality, he was not doing that much. But either way, when it came to his country that he used to rule, which was Latveria, after he left, Latveria had been kind of handed over to different people over the last couple years. And so they always had a new leader, except Doctor Doom. He's just been missing. And so we actually pick up with a character known as Zora. Now Zora is actually going to the Castle of Doom to hopefully find Victor Von Doom. And the reason why, because at this point with Latveria, there is no actual person in charge. It's right now being run by the military. And so you actually have Zora go inside the Castle of Doom to hoping to find Victor Von Doom, which she does. Now, of course, with Victor Von Doom being there, he's kind of like, no, I don't want to do this. I can't do this. I don't want to be in charge of Latveria. I can't lead at the moment. And you do have Zora kind of remind him who he is, that he is Victor Von Doom. The mask he wears, it scares other countries, but the mask he wears, it actually inspires the people of Latveria, which then kind of gives him that motivation he needs to get right back up and say, you know what? it's time for me to become Dr. Doom one more time, the ruler of Latveria. And just like that, he rises up, he puts on the face of Dr. Doom, he goes out there to stop the military, to make his presence known that Victor Von Doom is back in charge as the leader of Latveria. Because remember, when it comes to Latveria, a lot of people in that country love Dr. Doom. They praise him. They give him so much love. It's every other country on the outside that looks in kind of like that country is being ruled by an evil man. But either way, this backup story gave us the return of Dr. Doom. And so we actually jump over to Fantastic Four #2, where we pick up with Reed, Sue, their children, Franklin and Valerie, also with the Molecule Man and the Future Foundation. Now, with that being said, we see these characters right now going around and recreating the multiverse. Now, we already knew that because I mentioned that earlier in the beginning of this video, that these characters are going around to recreate the multiverse. But in the opening pages of this book, it's actually giving us a more in-depth look on how these characters are going around and recreating the multiverse. And so we focus on Franklin Richards, because when it comes to Franklin, he is a cosmic being. And with that being said, he's the one that's actually creating these different universes across the multiverse. Now, at the same time, you have the Molecule Man kind of there too to kind of help Franklin shape how the universes should actually be like. And so these two characters are creating the multiverse. Now, when it comes to the Future Foundation, they're the ones that kind of tell Franklin what each universe should be like. So an underwater universe or some kind of universe that's more kind of, I don't know, dark and scary, whatever. These kids kind of help Franklin get an idea how each universe should be like. Now, once each universe is made, you then have all the characters go in that universe as a way to kind of help get everything started up. And so, like I said, these opening pages were giving us a more in-depth look on how these characters are recreating the multiverse. And once they do that, they go in each universe to kind of get everything started up. Now, we actually pick up for a brief moment with Valerie and Franklin, the children to Reed and Sue. And with this moment, we're actually learning that these two characters, these two kids, they miss their Earth. They miss their home. They want to go back so bad, but of course they can't because they're going around and recreating the multiverse. But with that being said, we actually learn that with them traveling across the multiverse, it has been 5 years for these characters. So for Johnny and Ben on Earth, it's been 1 year. But for these characters, it has been 5 years. So Valerie, she's kind of like 13, 14, 15 years old. And Franklin, probably 16, 17 years old. These kids have grown rapidly as they're going around and recreating the multiverse. Now for Sue and Reed, they're kind of enjoying this. They enjoy going around and recreating the multiverse. They're having a blast. Matter of fact, for Reed, this is probably one of the best things he could ever do because this dude loves science so much. Now, we actually jump into the problem of this story, which is that Franklin Richards is no longer able to create another universe. And that is huge because without him having the ability to create another universe, that means they're unable to repair the multiverse, to recreate the multiverse. And so now everyone is wondering what in the world is going on with Franklin. Now, this is the moment we actually get introduced to the bad guy of the story, and her name is Griever at the end of all things. Now, her purpose in life is to basically grieve at the end of all time. Once the multiverse is gone completely, that is the moment where she'll be able to actually grieve. And that is her purpose in life. And so right now, Her goal is to reach that moment, to grieve for everything being gone across the multiverse. And for her to reach that point, that means she must begin the process of actually bringing death across the multiverse. And the problem was, with Franklin going around and recreating the multiverse, that kind of destroyed her purpose. It kind of pushed her plans back to be able to actually grieve. And so that's why she's here right now, to kill everything that these characters have built, the different universes across the multiverse. But with that, you do actually have the Molecule Man try to fight against her. But just like that, bam, he's gone. She killed him instantly. And that tells Reed and the other characters they have to go now, because she's too powerful if she's able to actually defeat the Molecule Man just that easily. Now, they do get in their ship to escape this universe, but no matter where they go, she follows them. And when she follows them, she destroys every single universe they go to. Because again, her purpose in life is to be able to grieve at the end of time. And so right now, she's killing every single universe that Franklin and these characters had just created so that she'll get her lifetime goal. Now, you do have the Future Foundation and Reed actually work together to find out which universe they can hide in until they're actually able to stop Griever at the end of all things. But here's the problem though. She's following them every single universe they have gone to. And for Valerie, she's kind of like, we just can't keep running. And so she takes everyone back to the first universe we saw in this chapter. And you have Valerie say, listen, Dad, you and me, we're the two smartest people across the universe, or right here at this moment, sorry. We should be able to actually find a way to stop her, because if we don't, she'll go around and destroy every single universe in the multiverse. And that is very huge. Now, Franklin thinks that if he's a cosmic level being, he should be able to go toe to toe with Griever up to a certain point, to give Reed and Valerie enough time to find a way to actually stop Griever. And so he goes up there to battle her while everyone else tries to find a way to stop her. The problem is, as soon as he gets up there, bam, Griever was able to defeat Franklin like he was nothing to her and send him right back to the ground. And by the time he wakes back up, everyone else is also defeated. It's just showing how powerful Griever is. She's trying to reach her lifetime goal, which is to grieve about the end of all things. But then we see Griever kind of shocked, because to her, she heard about the Fantastic Four. She heard how they were a major force across the multiverse. But here she is now, she was able to defeat all these characters around her. But then you have Reed say, no, this is not the Fantastic Four. This is the Future Foundation, a bunch of children who are super smart, who came with me to help me recreate the multiverse. That is it. These kids are not, and I repeat, not ready for hand-to-hand combat or to fight some kind of cosmic being. No. But if you let me call the rest of my Fantastic Four team, then we can defeat you. Now, when I read that line, I was kind of like, Reed, there's no way Johnny and Ben are good enough to help you defeat Griever, because her purpose in life is to wipe out the multiverse so that she can grieve at the end of all things. But that is when I realized I was wrong, because remember what happened at the end of the first chapter. We saw Reed and Sue use some kind of tech to put a signal in space to tell Johnny and Ben that they were still alive. Come to find out, it wasn't just a signal. It was also a way to teleport Johnny and Ben to them. But not just Johnny and Ben. They teleported every single member of the Fantastic Four. Because remember, There were times where Johnny, Ben, Sue, or even Reed had left the Fantastic Four and other characters have joined, like Black Panther, She-Hulk, Medusa. And so with that being said, Reed used that tech to call an army of old members and current members of the Fantastic Four to fight against Griever. Now we do jump over to Fantastic Four number 3, and we see that everyone is kind of surprised that Reed called them all here. Now we know why, because Reed knows he needs all hands on deck if they're going to be able to actually stop the Griever. Now this is the moment where we come to find out that Reed has been hearing the voice of the Griever for a long time. And the reason why I say that, because we do get a small flashback, and Reed says there was a time where he had locked himself in his room to work out a way to save the multiverse, to save his universe, because he knows that sooner or later the universe is going to die. And if his universe dies, that means other universes are going to die across the multiverse. And so he was trying to find a way to prevent that, but unfortunately he never could find a way. But every time he thought he had a way to save the multiverse, he would hear a voice saying, "You lose." And that was the Griever trying to break his hope. But that's when he realized, if she has been saying that, that means he was actually very close in finding a way to actually save the multiverse from ever ending. And that is a big thing for Reed Richards. But then he tells himself, we need to work together if we're going to leave here, but to also stop the Griever from killing the multiverse. Now, Reed Richards works quickly on making sure he can find a way to actually stop the Griever. And the first thing he does is he makes his two friends destroy the device that was used to bring everyone here. Now, that is huge because it seems like now everyone is stranded in this other universe. But you actually have Reed say, no, that was her device. And the reason why she let me use is because once she got rid of us, she was going to use that same device as a way to enter our universe and then destroy that universe. But with that device now gone, she can't leave. Neither can we. And the thing is, she can destroy this universe because if she does, then she also dies. So basically everyone is stuck here, and that kind of works out for Reed and the rest of the Fantastic Four members. Now we do get this heart-to-heart moment because while the reserve members of the Fantastic Four go to fight against the Griever, you have the main group kind of come together to have a one-on-one conversation. And basically it's them saying like, we miss you guys, it's been a long time. And honestly, it has been a long time. For Johnny and Ben, it's only been a year. But for Reed, Sue, Valerie, and Franklin, it has been 5 years. Because time moves differently in the other universes, they have gone too. But either way, you do have Ben and Johnny actually go see Franklin and Valerie, and they're kind of like, oh my gosh, our niece and nephews have gotten so big. And it's really nice to see this. It's kind of like, man, they really are one big happy family. But honestly, either way, we gotta move on. Now, Reed knows that they cannot actually defeat the Griever because her connections to the universe, but he does know he can slow her down so that everyone can leave and keep her here in this universe. Kind of give them some time away from her. But with that being said, you do have Reed tell Johnny to go to her ship. Go to her ship and destroy every single thing in that ship except one single telepod. There is a good reason why. Now, you do have Reed also tell Franklin, you need to fight against the Griever. Right now, out of everyone here, you are the most powerful one on our side. We need you to go fight her. Now for Franklin, he's kind of like, I can't do it because he lost to her just a moment ago in one single punch. But you have Reed, Ben, and even Spider-Man all come together to motivate Franklin, saying, listen, man, you have to do it. Like, you are the most powerful person here right now. And we all know that you can do it. And also with that speech, you have been actually joined Franklin in punching the mess out of the Griever. Now, the next section is really just a bunch of pages where you have everyone fighting against the Griever and her minions. Now, I do want to mention one thing. You have Iceman there. And when I saw him there, I was kind of like, when did Iceman ever join the Fantastic Four? And apparently there is an untold story by Dan Slott, I guess, or anyone else out there, where Iceman was actually part of the Fantastic Four for a brief moment. And that story comes later on. But either way though, you have everyone working together to actually fight against the Griever. Now, when the Human Torch actually gets to the spaceship of the Griever, that is when he sees someone inside the spaceship. And when he does, he's freaking out a tad bit. He's like, wait a second, why are you here for? But moving on, we come to find out it's the Hulk inside there. Because the Hulk was actually, I repeat, was actually a reserve member of the Fantastic Four. And he's there kind of like, yeah, y'all forgot there was a time where the Hulk was on the Fantastic Four. But either way though, the Hulk actually did the job for the Human Torch, which left the Griever with just one telepod. And with that being said, you have Reed tell everyone to stop, that they are done. And for the Griever, she's like, done? What in the world do you mean when you're done? Now you have Reed explain why he told everyone to stop. And he says that with her ship, it's not hers. It came from a different universe belonging to someone else. Meaning that if that ship gets broken, she has no way to fix it. And on top of that, he left her with one single telepod left. Meaning that if she wants to go back home to her home universe, meaning that she's not tied into the multiverse, she needs that one last telepod to get back home. But you have Reed say, if you attack me, I have someone on your ship that will destroy your last telepod. And if they do that, then you're stuck here in this universe with no way to fix your spaceship, and then you cannot destroy this universe because then it kills you, which means you'll be stuck here if you don't take my offer, take your ship, and go back home to your universe, which she does. Now, after she leaves, you have everyone begin the process of actually rebuilding a ship so that everyone can go back home to the main Marvel universe. But at the very end of this book, we actually see the Fantastic Four coming back together. And that means Marvel finally has the Fantastic Four once again. And that is huge, and that is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please hit the like button down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoyed today's comic book video.